Hi, this is Marcin Lewandowski and you're watching Adorama TV. In this episode, I will tell you a little bit about combining ISO and shutter speed to get desired effect in all different situations that you might encounter. More often than not, choosing your ISO level and shutter speed is either technical choice or aesthetics choice. What I mean technical choice is when you either have to freeze the action or you don't, and when I talk aesthetical choice is do you mind getting a lot of noise and grain, or do you have to get a clear image that will be blown out to really big size. You can use a very high ISO images online without really noticing the grain. Please remember that if you use very low ISO, you get much more details in the photograph, which means you can crop it really tight, and not even for print, but you can use tiny pieces of your images for online use and you will have all the details perfectly clear. In some situations, resolving your ISO conundrum is as simple as having a tripod or not having a tripod. If you have a tripod, simple resolution. Just get a little bit slower shutter speed and you can keep your ISO very low and get completely grainless photograph. If you, however, don't have a tripod, just bump the ISO, the grain will increase as well, but at the same time you can handheld shoot a pretty badly lit scene. If you can get away with it in poorly lit situations, mainly because you don't have to catch some action and freeze it, use your tripod, a little bit longer exposure and way lower ISO. In that case, you will be able to print the images and they're gonna look much more beautiful. If you cannot, because you have to freeze the action and you have to catch the movement, then use higher ISO, just try to keep it as low as possible. Once we have our technical conundrum resolved, we can concentrate on the aesthetic aspects of the photographs we are to create. Bumping your ISO to very high level can create what we call noise in digital. But the same noise in analog photography is grain, and grain can look really beautiful. So when you find a lot of red dots or even some banding on your very high ISO images, why don't turn it black and white? This in turn can create a very nice aesthetic of this kind of rough film look. At the same time, don't get constrained with using black and white and grainy imagery only when you have to. Why don't you bump your ISO as high as you can in the middle of the day and then turn it black and white and see if that aesthetic works for you. On top of everything that I mentioned, please keep in mind that you can get away with much higher ISO when you're only using your images online, like social media or your own personal website. But if you want to print them, always keep your ISO as low as you can, unless it's your aesthetical choice to have grainy images. Another situation that might come up is that you simply want to use a longer exposure, which means that you shouldn't use a very high ISO because simply you will overexpose your photographs. Choosing the right ISO shutter speed combination can be driven by either purely aesthetical reasoning or by technical difficulties. But remember that the final look of the photograph and the choice you make is entirely up to you. Thanks for watching this video. I hope you enjoyed it. Subscribe to Adorama TV channel on YouTube for much more, and remember to check out Adorama Learning Center for some really cool tips and tutorials. This was Marcin Lewandowski for Adorama TV. See you soon.